Ich melde mich zurück hier aus der kleinen Hall of Fame, die Galerie der Bracelet-Träger, wie ihr sehen könnt. Und ganz dort hinten ist noch ein Rahmen, wo kein Bild drin ist, aber das wird sehr, sehr bald gefüllt, denn das Omaha-Turnier hat einen Gewinner gefunden. Barny Boatman hat's geschippt, schnappt sich das Bracelet und das ist natürlich ein längeres Interview wert, denke ich. Wir haben ihn gesprochen und das könnt ihr euch jetzt anschauen. Barny, congratulations.
Thank you.
You won a bracelet in BLO. It's your second bracelet, right?
Yeah.
Tell me something about the final table and all tournament and how is it going? I mean, you won, so you must get pretty lucky from time to time in an Omaha game to win a bracelet, right?
Of course. I mean, tournament poker, nobody wins any tournament unless things go their way with cards. But as far as the final table was concerned, I don't always go in with a plan, but in this case I did a little bit because the Canadian guy Doug had a huge chip lead and I was comfortably second, and I'd seen the way he was playing the day before. He was like policing everybody. He was taking everybody on. He wasn't, he was taking shots at everybody, cracking aces all day long, and so I felt like, well, okay, he can get on with that. I'm holding on to my chips and playing relatively with aggression at times, but not getting involved unnecessarily, waiting to see the way the thing went. And also, I was a bit concerned about the table draw because the guy who was on my left, I already knew how he played. I've been playing with him the day before, and he was like the most aggressive and tricky player as far as I was concerned at the table. So I had him exactly where I didn't want him. And that, I had like a plan about how to play him, which worked until the first break when he saw, I think on the stream, what I'd been doing, and then I had to adjust again and go a bit more quiet. So I was kind of partly restricted by that guy and partly chose to be patient because of the other guy, but then things went a certain way where Doug, instead of knocking everybody out, he doubled everybody up.
Okay.
So should we wait for this to finish or can I carry on?
It's okay.
Actually by the time we got like five-handed or so, it was all very similar in chips, and everybody was quite deep. So really then you had to play according to that situation, because you couldn't assume that people were laddering anymore. And of course it was getting a bit more short-handed, so up the aggression a little bit. But the guy who was behind me, it was all working out for him, and he was building and building. And by the time we got like four-handed, he had more than half the chips. But my great good fortune then was
made you a big comeback.
Was that I was the one. I was still second. I think I was always in the top two in chips all day. But I was still second in chips, but a long way behind him. But luckily for me, I was the one who knocked out the other two guys. So when we got heads up, now. He still had a 2-1 chip lead on me, but I knew I had enough to play. So then, heads up, I'm very comfortable with heads up Omaha and heads up Hold'em. And I kind of played a little bit of rope-a-dope. I acted a little bit passive for the first couple of hands, folded the button, and then came out punching, and made a couple of good, as it turns out, pushes where he couldn't call. And then there was one very key hand where I had rivered a straight on a paired board, and I was sure my straight was good, and I led out, but then he made like almost more or less a pot-sized raise, and if I lose this pot, I'm going to be very low again, and it's like this was a polarized situation. He had to either be bluffing, maybe trying to get me off the same hand, or else he had a house, but it was very hard to see. I had to think about it, but it was hard to see the way the betting had gone, how he could have made a house, unless he had a pocket pair that had just hit the river. So in the end, I had to call. He was bluffing. Then that got me into the lead. Then he got back again. Then in the end, it came down to the one big flip, as it often does in tournaments. A huge hand,
Like it's a standard in tournament. The big flips. You have to win it, right?
Yeah. I mean, you kind of hope with heads up Hold'em, with how deep the play was, you hope it's not going to be like that. You want to just chip away. All the way through the tournament, I avoided these situations all the way, and but eventually you can't avoid them. If it happens, it happens. By the time I knew he had a big pair, it was too late for me to back off my hand, and my hand played well against a big pair anyway. I don't even know. I might have been favourite. I'm not sure. I haven't run it through the computer, and I can't remember exactly what his hand was, but it must have been very close. I like the look of my hand when they went on the back, so I thought to myself, you know what, this is the winning hand.
This is the winning hand. Was it the winning hand?
I can't remember. It's hard to remember every hand, but I think I won that one. Yeah, I think I did. It wasn't actually. He was left with like a couple of big blinds, and 2 hands later he was gone. I felt very bad for the guy actually, because he was a great player, and he had played a really good tournament all the way through, and he'd really, during the later stages of the final, he'd really taken control, and I knew that he felt that it was his to lose, the other one, and he was obviously so disappointed, when it didn't go his way in the end, and I know how that feels. My first World Series final, I came second after a cooler in the heads up, and of course to come all that way, but I mean, he's a young guy, he's just starting his poker career, he's very talented, he'll be winning bracelets long after I'm dead, so I hope that he'll wake up today and realise it was a great achievement, and it's just the beginning for him.
Now that you told me about your final table and in the end that you won the tournament, I want to see your bracelet. Where is it?
Well, the thing is, I was late for the bracelet ceremony, so I was a bit of a late one last night. So I don't know. Maybe
had a couple of drinks too much.
Yeah, too much. That's like too much fun. There's no such thing, right? But yeah, I mean, I had a little celebration, and so yeah, I was a little bit late. Hopefully, they're still going to give it to me.
We hope the same. Thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you very much.
Und wir schauen dann auf jeden Fall vorbei, wenn Barny sein Bracelet bekommt, und das könnt ihr euch jetzt noch anschauen.
I'm going to give you the box. I'm going to let you hold it up there. Hold it up for us, Barny.